Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive, and today we're looking at this piece called A Holiday of Hope in Detroit, Mr. Grant Money's Guide to Giving Back. It's a story about a retired factory worker in Detroit named Thomas, who wants to make a difference in his community.
Yeah, and what's so striking about Thomas's story is that he's living in a city that's faced some real economic hardship, but he doesn't give up. He still wants to make things better.
Exactly, he's seen it all. He spent years working on those factory lines in Detroit.
Yeah, you can just imagine the sounds of those assembly lines, the camaraderie, but also the tough times that hit the auto industry and the whole city.
Right, it really impacted those neighborhoods in Detroit. And that's where Thomas's story comes in. He wants to help, but it's like he's overwhelmed. Where do you even begin?
Exactly, he feels stuck.
So picture this. It's December in Detroit. Snow's falling. Thomas is walking home, lost in thought, when suddenly he bumps into this mysterious figure leaning against a lamppost.
And it's Mr. Grant Money, holding a golden Shirley scepter.
Now, wait a minute. A golden Shirley scepter? That sounds a bit like something out of a movie.
Haha, right. It's definitely a unique detail, but I think it symbolizes something deeper. It's like this sudden burst of hope and possibility appearing in Thomas's life.
You think it's trying to tell us something about how we approach problems in our communities? Maybe we need to be open to those unexpected moments of inspiration.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's like Mr. Grant Money is this catalyst for change. He's there to nudge Thomas in the right direction. What's his message? He tells Thomas that starting is the easiest part. Focus on your vision.
It's so simple, but it's powerful. It's easy to get bogged down in the details and overthink things,
Yeah.
but sometimes you just need to take that first step.
Exactly. And it's not all just motivational talk. Mr. Grant Money gives Thomas a notebook filled with tips and resources. He even mentions workforce development grants.
Okay, so for those who aren't familiar,
Mm.
what exactly are workforce development grants?
Well, they're basically funding opportunities that help people develop job skills and find employment. It's about investing in people and creating a stronger workforce.
Which is super important in a city like Detroit that's been going through these economic changes.
Right. And Thomas's vision ties directly into that. He wants to teach job skills, connect people to resources, and really support those families who are struggling.
So Mr. Grant Money is showing him that there's a way to make this vision a reality, and it all starts with taking that first step.
And not only that, but Mr. Grant Money encourages Thomas to be authentic, to speak from the heart, avoid using all that fancy jargon.
Yeah, it's about connecting with people on a human level, sharing your passion in a way that they understand and relate to.
Right, it's about being genuine. And you know what else? Mr. Grant Money points out that there are grants specifically for these kinds of community initiatives. He mentions workforce development, community aid retraining programs.
So it's like a whole world of possibilities opens up for Thomas. He realizes he's not alone in this. There are people and resources out there who want to support these community projects.
Exactly. It's like a light bulb goes off in his head. Once he understands what's available to him, he can start taking action. And that's incredibly empowering.
It is. It's like he's been given the tools and the knowledge to really make a difference.
Absolutely. It's a game changer for him.
And it makes you think about all the other people out there who have these amazing ideas for their communities, but maybe they just need a little guidance, a little nudge in the right direction.
Definitely. I think that's a key takeaway from Thomas's story. It's about recognizing that potential and then figuring out how to support it.
So what do you think are some of those key things that people need to make their visions a reality? What can we learn from Mr. Grant Money's advice?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to focus on the why. What's the driving force behind your vision? What impact do you want to make? Because that passion is what's going to fuel you through the challenges.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not just about having a good idea. It's about that deep-seated belief in what you're doing.
Exactly. And the other thing is to not be afraid to ask for help. There are resources out there, people who want to support community initiatives. Sometimes it's just a matter of finding the right connections.
So it's about being proactive, doing your research, and reaching out to those who can offer guidance and support.
Right, because you don't have to do it all alone. There's a whole network of people out there who are passionate about making their communities better.
It's a great point. It's like building a movement, a collective effort to create positive change.
And I think that's really inspiring. It shows that even in the face of challenges, there's always hope. And there are always people who are willing to step up and make a difference.
That's a great note to end on. So for everyone listening out there, what's your vision for your community? What change do you want to see in the world? And most importantly, what's that first step you can take to make it happen?
Remember, you don't have to have all the answers right away. Just start with that one small action and see where it leads. You might be surprised by the ripple effects that follow.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into a holiday of hope in Detroit. We hope you've been inspired to embrace your own power to create change and make this holiday season and every season a true holiday of hope. We'll be back next week with another deep dive into a new and fascinating topic. Until then, keep those ideas flowing. And remember, you have the power to make a difference.
See you next time. You know, that's like that old saying, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Well, that's what Mr. Grant Money is doing. He's not giving Thomas all the answers. He's giving him the tools to find his own solutions.
I see what you mean. It's about empowering him to create his own path.
Exactly. And I think that's so crucial, especially in a city like Detroit, where there's been this sense of things being imposed from the outside. It's about shifting that power back to the residents themselves.
Right. It's about saying, hey, you have the ability to shape your own future.
And that brings up another interesting point, the ripple effect.
The ripple effect.
Yeah. You know how Thomas is just one person, but his actions can inspire others to step up and make a difference too. It's like this chain reaction of positive change spreading throughout the community.
So it's like planting a seed. It might start small, but it has the potential to grow into something much bigger.
Exactly. And it makes you think about your own community, right? Are there people like Thomas out there who have these amazing ideas, but maybe they just need a little support to get started?
Maybe they just need that little spark of inspiration or that connection to the right resources.
And that's where storytelling comes in. Sharing stories like Thomas's can really ignite that sense of possibility in others. It shows them that change is possible.
It makes it feel more real, more attainable.
Exactly. And it can motivate people to take action themselves.
Now, I know we've been talking a lot about the inspirational side of things, but Mr. Grant Money also gives Thomas some very practical advice about securing grants for community initiatives.
Right. He breaks it down step by step. Explains that there are grants available for everything from workforce development to community aid programs.
So he's giving Thomas that roadmap to success. He's saying, okay, here's how you can actually make this happen.
Exactly. And there's this one line that Mr. Grant Money says that really stood out to me. He says, a holiday of hope isn't about waiting for miracles, it's about creating them.
Wow, that's powerful. It's a call to action, isn't it? It's about taking ownership and becoming the change makers ourselves.
Right. It's about shifting from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance. Instead of focusing on what's lacking, we start focusing on the potential that already exists.
So it's about believing in the power of possibility and then taking those steps to make it a reality.
And that's the true essence of hope. It's not just wishful thinking. It's about actively creating a better future.
Now, I want to bring this back to our listeners. If you were in Thomas's shoes, what would your holiday of hope look like? What changes would you want to see in your community?
Yeah. Think about your own skills, your passions, your resources. What unique contributions could you bring to the table?
What small steps could you take today to move your vision forward? It's easy to feel like our individual efforts don't really matter in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
but maybe that's where we're going wrong.
Yeah, I think Mr. Grant Money is trying to challenge that way of thinking.
Right, like he's
Yeah.
saying even the smallest actions can have a ripple effect.
Exactly. It's like that butterfly effect, you
Yeah.
know? One tiny change can lead to something much bigger.
So true.
Yeah.
And think about it. Real change rarely happens overnight. It's usually a bunch of small steps taken by a lot of people that eventually lead to something amazing.
It's like we're all part of this big puzzle, and each piece, even the tiny ones, contributes to the complete picture.
So it's not about waiting for some big miracle to happen. It's about each of us becoming those miracle workers.
Yeah. It's about taking ownership and saying, hey, I'm going to be a part of making things better.
And that can look like so many different things.
Right. Absolutely. It could be volunteering at a local charity or donating to a cause you believe in. It could be something as simple as helping out a neighbor who's struggling.
It doesn't have to be this grand gesture. It's about finding what speaks to you and then taking that first step.
Right. And even if it feels small, remember that you're contributing to something much bigger. You're part of this movement of people who are making a difference.
And that's what I find so inspiring about Thomas's story. He could have just accepted things the way they were, but he chose to do something about it.
And in doing so, he not only makes a difference in his community, but he also finds a renewed sense of purpose for himself. It's like giving back actually benefits everyone involved.
It's a win-win. So as we wrap up this deep dive into a holiday of hope in Detroit, I want to leave you with this question. What will your holiday of hope look like?
What steps can you take to create those miracles in your own community?
Remember, it all starts with that first step. And you might be amazed by the ripple effects that follow. Thanks for joining us. We hope you've been inspired to embrace your own power to create change and make this holiday season and every season a true holiday of hope.
See you next time.